challenge of unemployment. The unemployment growth in the Philippines is rapidly increasing. This is a terrible problem and it creates hurdle in our society. These social problems brings obstacle in the way of the progress of the nation. Most of the economies of the world suffering from the problem of unemployment. Here in the Philippines, this is one of the issues where there are hundreds and thousands of Filipinos who don't have employment. Besides, this problem is very severe because of the growing population and demand for a job. Moreover, if we neglect this problem, then it will be going to become a reason for a doom of our nation. Generally speaking, the term unemployment denotes a condition of joblessness of the current wage rate. They said due to the pandemic why the unemployment continuously increasing, especially for the third quarter September this year. Yes, it's true that the Philippine Statistic Authority reported 10% increase of unemployment rate. But can't you see, even without pandemic, we still experience this issue. Yes, pandemic affects each and every one of us. They said people are unemployed because they want to be. In this country, characterized by job losses due to recession, companies downsizing, and ever-changing climatic condition that we experience, how can we generalize and say that people not choose to be employed? Unemployment is caused by several reasons, and one of these is the contractualization. Is contractualization in our society should be rational for the overall level of unemployment currently being experienced? Yes, I believe that contractualization really affects our society, especially to those people who are workers. This should be stopped and abolished because it has negative effects on the government, the company, and most especially the workers. From CDM Project 2018, paragraph 4, the result of this is there are 5.8% of country's population is unemployed and the rate goes higher and higher every year. Contractualization is one of the biggest problems our society facing right now. In this kind of system of work, you don't have a permanent job. You can only work for a company for only 5 to 6 months. Many Filipinos are suffering from it because they do not get what they deserve. They don't have benefits, do not have proper wage, and they don't know if the next 5 to 6 months after their contract ended, if they can go back and sign another contract in the company where they are working. Duterte 2019, page 1. No to contractualization. I don't care if businessmen will be afraid and mad at me. I'm here to serve my countrymen, not business interests. It really affects the increase of the unemployment rate in the Philippines because Filipino workers are not given the opportunity to get job after their contract, which they can be called again unemployed workers. I can deny the fact that we are experiencing pandemic and a lot of people loses their job. Many lawmakers has released articles and videos describing their opinions on the situation. According to Jen Falk, a specialist in Policy 2020, paragraph 2, there are 8.8 contractual workers who are most affected in this pandemic where they can't go back to their work and 5.9% workers who are not supported by their companies. These practices must stop because it slowed down the economy due to termination. Some experts argue that these practices have significantly helped in the growth of the economy. But have you tried to think that it is also harmful to our economy? Unemployment as defined by International Labor Organization or ILO occurs when people are without jobs and they have actively looked for jobs or are looking for one. Let's make Mr. Richard Luz as an example. He served for the company for almost 9 years, but still, he's a contractual garbage collector. He said that honestly he accepted his work because he did not finish his studies. But what hurt him the most is their salary is too small even though they're much closer to accident. Rodrigo Duterte promised he would end contractualization and improve labor conditions to all. But according to International Labor Organization or ILO 2019, there is nothing, however, in this definition to suggest whether a person is unemployed voluntarily or involuntarily. There may be some person who choose not to work. There may be some individuals who simply cannot work for the reason that otherwise prevent them from doing so. Some people decide not to be employed in a scenario where voluntary employment takes place. Many persons feel that their current wage is not high to justify them, and this is caused by contractualization. Aside from the issue of the contractualization, the probable cause of unemployment in the Philippines is the inability of jobs provided even though you finish studies. If there's no choice, you really choose a job despite the fact it's not suitable to the course you finish. Secretary Briones 2020, page 2. Lack of education can also be considered why most individuals don't have work. With the increasing demands of fast-developing world, it is really hard to find job with one is undergraduate or one is not able to finish college course. Yes, she's true. But unemployed people should never blame the government because in the first place, they're also struggling due to economic crisis. I know unemployment crisis will remain unresolved without a genuine trust to develop Filipinos' manufacturing and domestic agriculture with regards to millions of applicants. Yes, the government has been doing its best to help offering training programs for those who are lack of qualification for available jobs. To be regular in the work is one of the goals in each employees, but contractualization is not like that. But you were forced to leave after 6 months even though you're doing job well. So you don't have assurance if you will have a work for a long term. It is supported by Lenny Robredo 2020, paragraph 4. Given the reason for and against contractualization, I emphasize with labor group to end all forms of contractualization due to the circumventing practices of employers. But at the same time, I understand the position of the business groups that regularizing all employees would eventually kill businesses and reduce job opportunities. Thus, it is important to have a clear distinction between lawful and unlawful forms of contractualization. Therefore, I concluded that contractualization must end because overall, there are negative effects and disadvantages, and the employees are most affected by this. Herbert Lucena, 2020, Rappler.com. Contractualization actually enables capitalists to pay workers less for the same work, stunt economic development, and harm the interests of all Filipinos, including capitalists, in which the workers are more desperate to renew their contracts and are likely to be even more fearful of engaging in political struggles. That's why some employees can't go back to their work anymore, and even if they're willing to fight for their rights, their ability to do is even more constrained than usual since they are not even legally allowed to form and join unions as contractual workers. This must be ended because after all, workers who constantly worry about how they're going to feed their children and their day-to-day needs, especially we're facing pandemic. Let's end contractualization and make it regular for works for the Filipino people.